A special thank you to each of our subscribers who make this channel possible. Here's today's story. In a startling revelation, classified data from Israeli military intelligence has indicated that only 1 in 4 detainees from the Gaza Strip are identified as fighters. This shocking statistic highlights the grim reality that the vast majority of Palestinians held in Israeli prisons are civilians, many of whom are subjected to abusive conditions without any charge or trial. Among those detained are medical workers, teachers, civil servants, media professionals, writers, sick and disabled individuals, and even children. Disturbingly, the cases of an 82-year-old woman suffering from Alzheimer's, who was imprisoned for 6 weeks, and a single mother separated from her young children, have drawn significant attention to the plight of these detainees. Upon her release, the mother found her children begging on the streets, a heartbreaking testament to the consequences of such detentions. The Detainees military base has reportedly held a staggering number of sick, disabled, and elderly Palestinians, leading to the creation of a separate area referred to as the geriatric pen. This term was used by a soldier who served there, emphasizing the dire circumstances faced by these vulnerable individuals. An investigation conducted by various media outlets, including The Guardian and Plus 972 magazine, has brought to light the scale of civilian detention, which is starkly at odds with the narrative often presented by Israeli officials. Israeli military intelligence maintains a database of over 47,000 individuals classified as Hamas and Palestinian Islamic Jihad fighters, which is considered the most reliable information regarding enemy forces. However, as of May this year, the database indicated that only 1,450 individuals were marked as arrested, representing just a fraction of the total number of Palestinians detained on suspicion of militant links since the outbreak of hostilities on October 7, 2023. The situation escalated as Israel detained approximately 6,000 individuals under its unlawful combatants legislation, which permits indefinite imprisonment without charge. This legislation has been criticized for its lack of transparency and due process, allowing the state to hold individuals for extended periods without evidence. Rights groups and even Israeli soldiers have pointed out that the actual ratio of fighters to civilians is likely even lower than the military's own estimates suggest. Reports indicate that 85 to 90% of detainees are not affiliated with Hamas, according to statements made by senior officers in response to international outrage over the treatment of detainees. The Al-Mezan Center for Human Rights, based in Gaza, has represented numerous civilians held in Israeli jails, asserting that the proportion of civilians among those detained is likely much higher than official figures indicate. Samir Zakaut, the deputy director of Mezan, stated, "At most, perhaps 1 in 6 or 7 might have any link to Hamas or other militant factions, and even then, not necessarily through their military wings." In a recent statement, the Israeli military announced that it had released over 2,000 civilian detainees after determining they had no connections to militant activities. However, the military also maintained that most detainees were involved in terrorist activities, despite the lack of evidence presented in open court. The unlawful combatants legislation has come under scrutiny for its potential to facilitate mass detentions and enforce disappearances, stripping detainees of protections guaranteed under international law. The story of 82-year-old Fahmiya Al-Khalidi, who was detained alongside her carer, exemplifies the troubling application of this legislation. Reports indicate that she was disoriented and confused during her detention, raising serious questions about the appropriateness of her arrest. The military later acknowledged that the detention was the result of an isolated error in judgment, yet the broader implications of such detentions remain concerning. Tal Steiner, director of the Public Committee Against Torture, expressed alarm over the wave of mass arrests that began in October 2023, emphasizing that many uninvolved individuals were likely detained without cause. The fact that half of those arrested at the beginning of the conflict were eventually released underscores the lack of justification for their initial detentions. Eyewitness accounts from soldiers stationed at notorious detention facilities reveal the harsh realities faced by detainees, including the detention of elderly and severely ill individuals. One soldier described the arrival of men in wheelchairs and those with disabilities, highlighting the inhumane conditions endured by these vulnerable populations. Hassan Jabarin, director of the Palestinian legal rights group Adalah, condemned the unlawful combatants legislation as a mechanism designed to facilitate mass civilian detention, arguing that it effectively denies individuals their rights under international law. The medical treatment of detainees has also drawn attention, with reports of women suffering from miscarriages and breastfeeding mothers being separated from their children during detention. The case of Abir Gabon, a mother separated from her 3 children during her detention, further illustrates the devastating impact of these policies. Confusion over her husband's identity led to her prolonged incarceration, leaving her children alone and vulnerable. Israeli soldiers tasked with guarding Palestinians have reportedly expressed frustration over the release of civilians cleared of any Hamas links, viewing it as a missed opportunity for leverage in hostage negotiations. This sentiment reflects the complex and often contentious nature of the situation on the ground. As the international community continues to scrutinize the treatment of detainees in Israel, the implications of these findings raise critical questions about the balance between security measures and the protection of human rights. The ongoing detention of civilians, often without any evidence of wrongdoing, underscores the urgent need for a re-evaluation of policies that disproportionately affect innocent individuals caught in the crossfire of conflict. The plight of these detainees serves as a stark reminder of the human cost of prolonged conflict and the importance of safeguarding the rights of all individuals, regardless of their circumstances. That's all for this story. We upload videos every day covering many different subjects, so hit that subscribe button to stay informed. Thanks for watching.